Hello and welcome back to another Gration Generation Games podcast.
I'm Harry Gration.
And I'm Harvey Gration. This is obviously a little later than we planned. We all know why. But we're here to talk about the Premier League, what's going to happen in terms of relegation, promotion, and the title. And we're going to talk the team of the season, which is where we're going to start. I'm going to go from goalkeeper to the front line, and you're going to chip in to see where he's fit. So I'm going to start with my goalkeeper, Dean Henderson. I think he's been pivotal in Sheffield United's season. They're sixth in the Premier League, and their defence is mainly wide. They've got 10 clean sheets, the third best in the league, and I think Henderson's ability to pull off some world-class saves. He makes mistakes, but I feel like every goalkeeper is making mistakes in the Premier League this season.
I think he's been outstanding. Well, Henderson, of course, is still, strictly speaking, a Manchester United player. So he might have to make some kind of commitment to Sheffield United, who have really backed him completely and utterly. What I would say, however, is that I think that Nick Pope has gone very close to being the number one. I like him. I liked him when he was a York City player all those years ago. I saw in him something special. And I think I'm right in saying that Burnley have got a remarkable record of clean sheets themselves.
11 clean sheets this season, which is only bettered by Liverpool. And Pope, again, I think where the two goalkeepers differ is probably where Pope certainly makes a lot less mistakes than Henderson, but probably doesn't pull off quite the number of saves that Dean Henderson does. So I think we're talking in terms of the England jersey now and the number one spot. I think Pickford's going to be very lucky and fortunate to keep the number one spot. And if you actually talk about three goalkeepers going to the Euros, I think Pickford arguably could be struggling to even fit in there because you've got Fraser Forster at Celtic, who is doing terrifically well. So I think he probably will go to the Euros, but maybe just as the number three, we will see. So moving on to the defence, this is where things maybe get a little bit more cut and dry.
Absolutely. Can I just make my claim here? I don't think there's any doubt that the back four have got to be the Liverpool back four. They've been amazing.
It's a very good case. I picked three of the four of my back four as Liverpool players because 12 clean sheets, you can't really overlook that at all. I've gone Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back, Van Dijk and Tarkowski, who is maybe slightly more left field, but I feel like you always got to have one in your team this season, and then Robertson at left back. We'll start with Robertson because the only person remotely close to Andrew Robertson is Ben Chilwell from Leicester, and he's fallen off dramatically towards the end of the season. So I think Robertson's the only one you can really put in the conversation. So that's pretty simple. He'll go there. Same with Van Dijk. He's calm, composed.
He's got everything.
The ultimate defender.
The complete footballer.
He's got 4 goals as well. And then this is where things maybe get a little more interesting. Tarkowski, I think there's quite a few who you can put as your second sort of centre-back. I've gone for Tarkowski because at times he's captained the Burnley defence, and we've said 11 clean sheets is superb, and he's kind of been the driving force. He'll be, again, it would be very harsh not to put him in the England squad.
I still would go for Liverpool back four, though.
Yeah, well, the Liverpool player is Joe Gomez. He when he came in, Liverpool had only got 2 clean sheets in the first 15 Premier League games. He came in and they got 7 in a row. He's quick and aggressive and a perfect partner to Van Dijk. I've just gone Tarkowski.
Okay.
You look at some of the numbers: 144 aerial battles won, which is matched by no other player. In terms of centre backs, other people, you got to put a Sheffield United player in the mix. I've gone for John Egan, Jack O'Connell, those type of players. The Leicester centre backs, they've been playing every single minute of every single game.
Does Maguire get a look in?
Definitely Maguire. I think he's not quite done as well to get in the team of the season for me, but quite a few people feel that he should be. That he's captained them, and ever since he's captained them, he's transformed their defence when he's been captain. I wouldn't put him in, although he has been very underrated this season, actually. I wouldn't put him in because there's a few things he still has to iron out. Positionally, he needs to get better because we all know he's quite slow. But there's no doubt he's been very, very decent for Manchester United this season. But I still think he's probably missing the X factor that top strikers are really scared of him.
Yeah.
And then finally, to complete the defence, the right back. This is between two players, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Both of them are very good at their different roles. Wan-Bissaka is a terrific defender, and Arnold very good going the other way. If you look at Arnold, who I've chosen, 12 assists this season in a 12 clean sheet Liverpool back four.
I also think, there's something about having that solidarity of the same four playing with each other week after week. They take some beating to Liverpool. I know they've had a bit of a wobble in recent times, but in all truth, they are so much better than any other team. And those four have been principally the reason why they're so good.
And Arnold is, like Wan-Bissaka, is so vital in the respected teams' system that Arnold, I just don't think you can overlook him for how well he's done, although Wan-Bissaka is a close second for me. Moving on, I've gone for three in midfield because this is kind of the normal formation that people choose, the 4-3-3. I'm going to start with the cut and dry ones. Kevin De Bruyne and Jordan Henderson are going to be on either side of a central midfielder for me. Kevin De Bruyne, that's pretty
he's
simple.
Just the player of the season for me.
Player of the season? Well, yeah, 8 goals and 16 assists. Not many can boast his goal involvements. And without him, Man City really would be struggling.
You've also got to remember, when he buzzes, when he clicks, I think Manchester City are a fantastic team.
And in this kind of formation, this position is perfect for him because he always likes to operate in the half spaces as the number 8. And the balls he kind of whips in towards the back post to Sterling or to Aguero they're all sublime, and nobody can match him. People are talking about Grealish or Maddison. They can't get close to this guy.
As good as they are.
Yeah. And Henderson, Jordan Henderson, a lot of people's player of the season as well. He's going to be up there because since he's started being captain regularly of Liverpool, they've turned their fortunes and won almost everything, apart from the 2 cup competitions in England. And he's even added goal involvements this season, 3 goals and 5 assists. We talk about his leadership, always important in every team, and he is the leader. He's quickly becoming one of the great captains. You talk about the Companies, Adams, Vieiras, Keanes of the Premier League era. He's definitely got to be up there. Versatile in the midfield 3 as well. So he's certainly cut and dry in there. And then finally, you could definitely play Henderson in the midfield central role, where I've put Wilfred Ndidi of Leicester, and then play a Grealish or Maddison in your team this season. But I've gone Ndidi. I think he's vital to Leicester.
Well, I like Ndidi, don't get me wrong, but I just think Grealish has got better and better throughout the course of the season. He's really responded to the challenge of the Premier League. He was always a very good player in the Championship. There were question marks as to whether or not he would actually make the grade, but he has done. And you can bet your bottom dollar that when all of this is sorted out, he will be the target of every club in the Premier League, the decent Premier League, because they want him in their team. He's that good.
Well, Grealish is obviously the man of Aston Villa. And I think, arguably, Ndidi is this to Leicester. You see, when he was out the team for a period of 6 games, Leicester only didn't win a single game.
Yeah.
What he does in terms of shielding the back 4, allowing the number 8s, Tielemans and Maddison, to go and create. He also covers for Pereira and Chilwell, the fullbacks. He never loses the ball, ever. He's maybe the best in the league at doing his job. I've got a few stats here. 91 tackles, which is the highest in the league, missing 6 games, so he's only made 23 appearances. And 61 interceptions, the second highest in the league. And Leicester, there is no doubt they are at their best when he plays. So those are my midfield 3. I don't think you can have too many queries about any of them. Maybe a slight difference of opinion for Ndidi, but those are my midfield 3. Finally, the most contentious picks are the front 3. The names that are in the hat: Mane, my player of the season, Jamie Vardy, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Jimenez from Wolves, Mo Salah of Liverpool, Sergio Aguero, and I'm actually going to put in Rashford there in the conversation.
I think Rashford's really beginning to sort of buzz at the moment. But I think he's, if you were looking at it in the context of the whole season, probably you wouldn't put him there.
No, because obviously he's been injured since around
Does
January.
Sterling deserve a bit of a...
No, because in terms of he's dropped off. He's been one of the players who's dropped off severely. I think he's on actually a significant goal drought from when the season is now. So I don't really think you can put him there. My front 3: Mane, I'm gonna play him on the right, but this is to accommodate other players. But there's no real formation. This is just the three best forwards in my opinion. Mane is going to be on the wing. Player of the season for me, like I said, he's Liverpool's big game player. Incredibly hard to get off the ball because he's strong as well. 14 goals and 7 assists, and he's truly developed into a world class player now. And my player of the season. Up front, I've gone Jamie Vardy. I don't think you can disregard the Premier League's top scorer.
Absolutely.
For any team, really. He's got 19 goals. Again, a big game
And
player.
he scored, exactly. He scored when it mattered against the big clubs.
And this is actually going on a 7-game goal drought.
Yeah.
After he had his baby, and then he didn't score for 7 games yet. And so I think that's pretty much a certain that you've got to have your top goal scorer in the Premier League in your side. And then on the left, I've also gone for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, crucial for Arsenal. If Arsenal didn't have him, I don't know where we would be. And he's not even a left winger, which is where we're putting him. He is a centre forward, but since he's been put out on the left, hasn't complained once. 17 goals, second top goal scorer in the league, doing it for large parts of the season, a very average Arsenal side. And he's the most statistically, he's the most clinical player in the Premier League. His expected goals, maybe because he's in a slightly weaker side, but his expected goals is only 11, and he's on 17. So I think it really shows how good and vital he is. He's developed into a more of a big game player this season as well. He's got 5 match-winning goals, only behind Mane in terms of that, and he's gone head-to-head with people like Salah, Aguero, Mane and Vardy and Sterling, even though he's in a weaker team. The other players that I'll allow you to touch on, Salah, he always has a case. Maybe Vardy could, Aubameyang could move into the centre. Salah could come in for Vardy. What do you think?
Well, I don't think Salah's been as good as he has been, but he's still a very useful player. I don't really knock that decision that you've made for that front three. I think they're very good. I mean, some people might query Aubameyang playing on the left side, but as you pointed out, he has played in a pretty average Arsenal side throughout the course of the season. And without his goals, they would have been near the bottom.
Well, and also, I don't think really too many people do query Aubameyang if you talk about team of the season.
No, Mourinho likes him very much.
He is a player that would win all of them. But touching on Salah, this is the interesting thing with Salah. You said he hasn't been as good this season, and obviously he hasn't since he got 33 goals in one season. But he's still got 16 goals and 6 assists. Yeah. And people also, the common misconception really with Salah is that he doesn't turn up in the big games. Well, he's got the most goals of any forward in the Premier League in the big games since his debut at Liverpool. And we're talking about the big six here. What do you want to actually come out of the Premier League season? How would you end it?
Well, I think you've got to end it. You cannot make any other decision than Liverpool are the champions. They are by far and away the best side that this country has had for a long time. They deserve it. The question is, what happens to, I suppose, positions 3 and 4 at the top, and the relegation issue. Those are the issues that have got to be settled, because it has ramifications with the Championship, where you would argue that Leeds should be given the chance of promotion because they're easily the best side in the Championship. West Brom wobble a little bit, and Fulham wobble a little bit. There lies the problem that people face. Are we going to have this situation that some people have suggested, that you allow Leeds and West Brom automatically to go up, and then you have this situation where you have a 5 relegation team next season in the Premier League? In other words, a bigger Premier League, which of course means that you can't have Carling Cup, you can't have the FA Cup. They've got to go because there are too many matches. I don't know. This is
certainly make for a scintillating season.
Fantastic season.
It'd be absolutely. It's a mouth-watering prospect. But what I would say to that is, you're really criticising the integrity of the league here. I think obviously you've got to wait until it's safe to resume, and then you play behind closed doors the rest of the games. But the important thing is it's got to be on neutral grounds. You can't risk any of the players again, and the stadiums have all got to be outside of London. So there's financial problems as well as geographical.
I wonder
problems.
whether the biggest issue facing everybody here is a financial one rather than any other perspective, because clearly, if Sky don't get their season completed, they will want significant amounts of money back from the Premier League, and we're talking about hundreds of millions of pounds. Can you actually have such big matches without people getting themselves involved, fans getting involved, just turning up to the games on the as they would, if there was a match played in a.
This is the thing. PSG's clash against Dortmund was played behind closed doors. All the fans were outside of the Parc de France. So it's a huge problem. But you've just got to say we have the slots free from the Euros, and the next season may have to be, hampered as it's been extended indefinitely until at least June the 30th. But there probably, if this continues, there has to be a cut-off point, which maybe is around September time, where you got to say next season won't happen if we don't start now. So you're probably going to have to tell the players whenever it's deemed safe to start again that you might have to be prepared to play 3 or 4 games in a week, and you've got to prepare yourself mentally for that.
A lot of people turn around and say, well, what about those whose contract ends on?
Yeah, this is a big problem.
I don't think any matters. I think you just turn around and say.
This is a big problem.
Well, I don't think it is. I think you just turn around and say you're contracted to the team, and we'd like you to stay with the team until the season is resolved. Whether it's an extra 2 months or whatever, it's still resolved.
Well, I'm gonna argue with you here because the contracts are until June the 30th, and the club has no legal rights to actually say to the players, you can stay here. Let's take Aubameyang here and many other players like Aubameyang. He's 30 years old, almost 31, and if he's in a contract negotiation with Arsenal, this will be the final long-term contract, probably at the top level in his whole career. If we're being realistic, he'll most likely go to a trophy-winning club. And many other players like him have to think about their careers. And financially, for some clubs, certainly at the bottom of the Championship, who are less financially stable, are they going to be willing to keep paying players for indefinite amount of time?
I don't know whether that's the issue. The issue to me is quite simple. Obviously, if the season is extended, then you just extend their contracts. If they don't want to play those, they have every right to say they don't want to play. That's a different issue, so they won't get paid for it. As far as Aubameyang is concerned, well, there's nowhere for him to go anywhere if the season ends for him on June the 30th, because the chances are that the Premier League, if it's played behind closed doors, will take place in July anyway.
We do have to remember Aubameyang still has a year left on his deal after this, but it's the case for many older players and just many players in general. They've got to think about their own career, and obviously for the top clubs, finances aren't really important, which is what we're just going to sort of touch on now. You've seen Liverpool and Tottenham both furloughing staff. Liverpool, okay, fair enough. They've gone back, recognised that they were wrong, as it was blatantly obvious in the first place, and reversed that decision to furlough staff. But Spurs, that's a bit of a joke to keep furloughing their staff. That's ridiculous.
Well, it is, especially when they've keep the great players. They've also got themselves involved in transfer negotiations with other players. They've got a very expensive and well-financed chairman in Daniel Levy. He certainly is a rich man. I'm not saying he should bear the brunt of it all, but come on. We've got to the situation now where Liverpool have come to their senses when they realise that their support staff is very much part of the fabric of the club. Tottenham are giving the impression that all that matters is the new stadium and their players on the field. And I don't.
Well, this is why it's worrying. It seems like they're going to be defiant with their decision, and after they spent 500 million on a new stadium, and at the same time still managed to bring in Ndombele for 60 million and Lo Celso for 32. It's very worrying that they're suddenly just furloughing staff and looking like they're not really going to do anything about it. Because this is the first time we've seen Spurs really spending consistently big on things. In the relation to market prices and transfer climates, their last kind of huge signing was probably when they signed Defoe in January 2004.
I think you need to remember too that one of the biggest issues is going to be now the transfer of players generally, because with no money being around, because there's no doubt about it, what's happened in our life we're going to have less money, clubs are going to have less money, etc., etc. Players are going to be worth less. They are going to be worth less. They're going to be paid less as well. Many of them, of course, have taken cuts in their salary, which is very commendable that they've taken that decision.
Not really in the Premier League though, and this is something that they've done the players together.
Making contributions as a club,
all the players, but not individually. Many players taking a wage cut. It's more been West Ham and Southampton have both taken deferrals, so to be paid when everything's concluded, but no one's taken a wage cut yet, which is slightly worrying. But again, it's something that I believe and you believe. You just got to finish the season whenever it is. We probably will be able to do that by the end of June, July.
Well, it's debatable, is that? It is debatable, but there is at least a glimmer of hope that might be the situation. Just let's presume that you can't finish it. What would you do? What would you say about the Premier League? Would you actually say, right, those are the decisions now, that where they stand, the top 4, the top 5, 6, whatever, they will stand as they are. The relegation issue is probably more contentious because Norwich are 5 points adrift, but they might say, well, a couple of wins and we're back in it.
Well, if you're going to cut Norwich away from it completely and they're 4 points away from 19th place, it's a bit harsh on them, although it looks like it's too much competition for them realistically to stay up. But they're, of course, going to say they have a chance. And it is similar for top 4, yes. So there's been something said that Liverpool win the league and Manchester City, who are banned, obviously that's they don't get Champions League. Liverpool win the league, and then 3rd, 4th, 5th last season standings get top 4, but you wouldn't really see that's a bit ridiculous as well. So as much as everyone, apart from Liverpool fans, kind of hopes it gets voided and they don't win the league,
that would be
it is unfair on Liverpool, and you can't really. It's going to be an absolute farce if you actually do that. So realistically, it's not going to happen. The Premier League will want to find a way, however possible, to complete the season and give Liverpool the league. So it probably will be completed, but it's just more when they find the time to.
Well, I wish I shared your optimism about the ability to be able to complete the season, because I'm not quite convinced about that. But we shall see. All I will say to you is that at the end of the season, whenever it is, will be a very exciting one, and it will be a very controversial one as well.
Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Hope to. Bye.